Now, I'm talking about something even deeper than just talking about it. I'm talking about learning what to do with the emotion, how to process it through so that you don't, when you have, for example, a bad relationship, you're not carrying that baggage into your next experience because you actually took time to process what happened to you in that last relationship. How many of you got those tools? Anybody?
So I'm still like making mine like stronger, really a part of everything.
So it's a learning experience for us all. I didn't have that in my family, and my mother and I talked every day, hours on end. But she still didn't know how to tell me what to do with my anger and pain. She didn't get that. Neither did grandma, great-grandma, great-great-great-great-grandma. You know, they came from a time where this country was a bit different. And they had to suffer through some things and suppress some things. So it's important that we learn how to process this, because when we don't, we get sick. So I've had people come to me for painful cycles or come to me for fibroids, and we start talking about daddy issues, and all of a sudden their body starts healing. Because it's all about the mind-body-spirit connection. And so a lot of times people are just so focused on one aspect of themselves. Well, if I just go vegan, give up that meat, I should be able to heal. Or, you know, if I just go to church every Sunday and praise the Lord and get my shower on and give that right offering, I should be straight. But you got to look at your complete self, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And you got to take a look at your womb story. Okay, stand up for me. Let's raise the vibration. How many of you know where your womb, the physical anatomy of your womb is? Show me. Show me your womb. If you up here, you're too high. And you're lower. Let me see. It's always like 1 to 2 inches beneath your belly button. That's your roadmap. All right? The Womb Sauna has a movement right now called Let the Womb Be Heard. Your womb is speaking to you all the time. But are you always listening? When you eat them potato chips, she got a message for you. When you lay with that one that she don't really like, she has a message for you. Sometimes she changes her sense. Sometimes she changes her natural rhythm. You find that your bleeding pattern is shifting. And she's always talking to you, but are you ready to listen? Are you ready to let the womb be heard? And if you are, I'm very animated, as you can probably tell. I want you to lift your hands with me and say, yes! Yes. So on the count of 3, are you ready to let your womb be heard? Yes! I don't believe y'all. I thought I was at Howard University. I heard all these rumors that they are turned up and they're all alive, but I don't believe it. Are you ready to let your womb be heard? Yes! All right, I believe it. So let's jump right into it. Have a seat. Have a seat. We're going to dialogue. I'm interactive. I can lecture, but I think we can both gain more from this experience if we really just have a heart-to-heart conversation about your womb and your womb health. We have a global epidemic going on right now, especially among women of color. We are leading in every category of womb issues right now. By that I mean fibroids, infertility, endometriosis. How many of you are familiar with endometriosis? Scarring of the tissues in the womb, those types of things. People really think PMS is normal. How many of you think PMS is normal? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to dispel some myths for you today. I'm going to give you some truths. Many women are bleeding past 7 days. How many of you have a cycle longer than 7 days? How many of you have a cycle longer than 3 days? We got some work to do. I got to take a shower. Your uterus is only 1 or 2 inches long, so you have to really think about where's all this blood coming from for 6, 7 days, right? So that's a message. Your womb is trying to communicate, but a lot of times we're not taught that. And when we go to our doctors for our annual pap smears and things, they normalize things not based on the fact that the human body is saying that this is how it should truly function, They normalize it because so many people are impacted by it. Because they are data driven, right? So I'm here to bring empowerment, and I want you to really understand how to take the best care of yourself. All right, so your mothers, your grandmothers, you yourself may be impacted by some of these things. Another growing issue is PCOS. How many of you have heard of that? Polycystic ovarian syndrome. Familiar with that? It's characterized by irregular cycles. Women tend to grow hair in places that men normally would grow hair. And their ovaries can fill up with cysts. It can be very painful sometimes. And left untreated, it can cause things like diabetes, insulin resistance. And more younger women are being impacted by it, so much so that now doctors think it's a genetic disorder. The body is always communicating to you. And you are all women. And if your womb is out of balance, all of you is out of balance. So we have to identify your entry point to your healing process. At the finish line is balance between your mind, your body, and your spirit. But some of us have had some real traumas in our lives. And we're sick not because we're not necessarily getting the proper nutrition, but because we're in grief or we're angry. Right? How many can relate to holding anger? One of the biggest things is inflammation in the body, is heat. If you ever go to an Asian doctor, you'll hear them say, you got too much heat in your body, too much fire. Right? So we got to learn how to balance that. So what I do with vaginal steaming, to give you a history, I had a PowerPoint for you. Ruby, would a computer hook to it? Or?
Yeah, it's ready.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So while she's helping me get that up for you, I want to give you the backdrop for this medicine. It's not new. I know we think that just because we now see things on TV, that makes it valid and that makes it new. But vaginal steaming or smoking the womb with herbs is actually very ancient and was practiced in indigenous cultures as a form of medicine, but also ceremonially. So for example, women in Africa would dig holes in the ground, and they would put healing barks and plants, and they would have the young girl squat, and they would smoke the womb if she was having cramping and pain and discomfort. Then it was also used ceremonially before a woman was getting ready to get married. They would lock her in a sweat hut. They would build this sweat hut, and they would lock her in, the elders of that tribe, and for 3 days at a time, they would be smoking her womb with all these fragrant herbs and counseling her on how to please her man, and preparing her for marriage. And so, vaginal steaming is actually very vaginal steaming has been practiced in almost every indigenous culture. So when she's thin the lights, I'm going to show this to you. This is an expression of it in the Roman and Greek cultures, when they're their sites. And they actually would put the herbs in with some water and have people sit down in it to receive the herbal medicine. Yeah, a little bit more, not completely dark. Because if I hear somebody snoring, I'm going to feel some type of way. Yeah. That's perfect right there. Can y'all see that okay? Okay, good. The picture in the middle, I know there's a glare from it, but this is a sister I connected with who does this in Brazil. And she literally took a chair and cut out the middle, so where that light is shining is just open space there. But you see how she has that bowl of Brazilian medicines? You know, so it's so excited, so connected. So that's their expression over in Brazil. And this is a more modern concept. A lot of times what you'll see in spas. You see this here is a stool, open at the bottom, and you'll sit on it, and you're usually covered with some kind of cape or gown from the neck all the way to the ground. And they smoke the womb with herbs. So that's what the Womb Sauna is doing. We have our own method. I was in corporate America for years selling technology solutions to small business owners. And when I began to go through a separation with my now ex-husband, I, for the first time, began to become conscious of womb issues. I would have a sharp pain. It felt like somebody was taking a sword, sticking it in my ovaries, and slowly pulling it out. I said, what is wrong? This is like, what I don't have this on. So I went to my doctors. The first ultrasound they did, they found nothing. They were like, "You're sure? I think you're okay." I said, "You're sure? We think you're okay. You know, there's no problems." But I knew something was wrong. So I went back a few months later, 6 months later. I said, "Y'all have to figure out what is going on with me." Went back, both of my ovaries were full of cysts. Not one, not two, not three. Full of cysts. And I said, "Okay, how did this happen?" Well, none of the doctors could tell me how it happened. But they told me that I had two options. Either go back on birth control, which I had spent 12 consecutive years of my life on, or if I ever want to have children one day, get an IVF. I said, "Well, I'm just here to know what my body is doing." Like, you got to know who you're having a conversation with. And doctors get reward when you come to them and they get to treat you. So they weren't really interested in giving me the why. They just wanted to tell me what to do next. I went through 7 specialists. My breaking point was when the 7th specialist took 3 minutes looking at my medical chart, put it down on his desk and said, "If you ever want to have children, just get an IVF and come back once you find out if your insurance covers it." And I said, "Okay, well maybe you know something I don't know." I said, "Why do you say that?" "Well, because you're hairy." Yeah, everybody's face, exactly. That's exactly how my face was. Hairy. As in I had hair on my body. I said, "You know how many hairy women I know popping babies out left and right? You're going to have to tell me more than that." He didn't have more. So I dig deep and I said, let me look at natural medicine. And that one right there, my sister, I grew up with her. She was in Atlanta at the time, and we were going through Queen of Fua's book called Sacred Woman. Got that? It's like the Bible for female health. And there's so many wonderful tools. So if you don't have that book, add it to your library. It's called Sacred Woman by Queen of Fua, A-F-U-A. And that's what it looks like. Can I show everyone? I recommend that you get it in a hardback copy if possible, because it's going to become like a reference book. Like mine looks like my grandmama's old Bible. I got stuff hanging out of it, tabs. So if you get it in a hardback copy, you know, you protect the cover of it, because trust me, you're going to flip through it. Sure. We'll pass it around. Can we pass it around for people who want to get the information? So in this book, the way it's broken up, there's 9 gateways that you walk through in really discovering who you are and why you're having some of the challenges you're having in your life. It's not just about your physical health. It really is holistic. And there's different rituals and things you do. There's different vows you make for yourself. And so anyway, I'm going through this, and it was one sentence in this book that talked about smoking the womb with herbs. I had no idea what that was. But I joked with her on the phone. I said, when I get to Atlanta, I don't know what it is, but you're going to smoke my womb. And you said, no, that ain't what you said at first. She said, no, I'm not. But I'll take you somewhere. I ain't doing nothing with your womb. And they surprised me when I got down there. They took me to a Korean spa. And at that point, I hadn't had a cycle on my own for a year. And I was at peace about it, though, because I had already transitioned into self-healer mode. And I had already given myself permission to go through the journey that was necessary for me to heal myself. And my truth was that I would heal myself by any means necessary. I wasn't moving from that. So I was cool. 20 minutes. I'm trying to talk to the woman. She's about this high, barely spoken English. And I come in with all my heart on. I said, no, I've been psyched here. You know, it's about. She's like, shh, shh, sit down, sit down. 20 minutes later, it pulled my cycle down.
Wow.
And that's when I knew that this resonated with me. And my body allowed me, my higher self knew I needed this experience to lead me to what I'm really here to do in this life. And so I came back to DC, and I said, who does this? And I was looking and searching, and I couldn't find anyone. So I said, Well, I've always been the kind of kid that would dump out mom's lotions and put herbal potions. I was always making this kind of stuff, always intrigued by romance. So I created my own kit. I went through several chair designs. I went through designing the capes. And I began to work on myself for 2 years. 2011, I got sick and tired of corporate America because once you start doing womb healing work, you change. When I got hired in corporate America, I used to rock a different wig and weave every week. When I came in with an afro mohawk, they looked at me sideways like, who is this girl? Who is she? I changed in powerful ways. I had to get some stuff off of me. During that 6-month time period, what created my ovarian cyst, I found a woman by the name of Louise Hay. How many of you have heard of Louise Hay? She has a great book as well called Heal Yourself from A to Z. It's a glossary of all kinds of diseases. She even has horns and rungies in it. And she tells you the mental cause of that imbalance. So I got a hold, best $6 I ever spent on Amazon. I got a hold of this book, looked up ovarian cyst, and it said nursing a hurt from a partner, taking a blow to your feminine ego. Well, what had happened in that 6-month time span between my first ultrasound and my second was that I had separated from my now ex-husband. Took a blow to my feminine ego and definitely was nursing a hurt from my partner. And my ovaries filled up with cysts in 6 months. So I share my womb story with you because I want you to see the power of the mind, body, spirit connection. And that is why I'm so passionate about vaginal steaming. I've serviced hundreds of women throughout the world. If my pop could talk, Lord, I would have some stuff to hear. I've serviced hundreds of women throughout the world. I take the Womb Sauna, I mobilize it. That's what I used to do in corporate America, mobilize the business processes of small business owners. So it gave me the blueprint for this work. And so I mobilized the kit so I could take it to, I said, every woman needs to get it. And I really believe that still, every woman needs to experience vaginal steaming. And every woman in their first session gets up and says, I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. All right, so this is the historical context for this medicine. It's adapted in many different ways. Again, I cannot attest to everybody's method. I can tell you about my method. I can tell you about the data I've collected from mine. But this is indigenous medicine. It's valid. And the industry is at a stage that things like Reiki and acupuncture were many years ago. Vaginal steaming is at those early stages. So you're going to hear more and more about it. Okay. So what's the impact? The social impact is actually sisterhood. Because can you imagine you get butt naked, you sit down on this pot, and you have to tell your womb story to somebody you really don't even know. But it's freeing. There's something about that experience that makes you talk about it because your body knows it's time to let it out. So once I ask you that question, what's your womb story? All of a sudden stuff starts coming up. When I was 4, this happened to me. Oh, my dad died, this happened. And whatever comes up is what needs to come out. And it creates a sisterhood bond between the Womb Sauna practitioner and you, because now you get to tell the story in a safe, sacred, safe space, knowing that there's no judgment. It purifies the mind, body, and the spirit. What we resist persists. Say that with me. What I resist, persists. You can't push it down and think that'll make it disappear. You have to take action to release it in order to get over it. Okay? So it'll help you purify your mind, your body, and spirit, to help you get ready for that exam and all of that kind of stuff, to help cleanse you and balance you. It gives respect for the natural order. I have so much respect for the earth, the plants. I don't litter. I don't believe in it because earth is so good to me. The medicines, the herbs, the plants and things that I will put in my pot help me heal myself. The last time I went to a traditional doctor, I like their technology. So I'll go and let them examine me and peek inside my body to tell me what they see. And then I got it from there. But the last time I did that, last year, the doctor said, well, I think maybe you were misdiagnosed with PCOS. And I laughed. I said, no, I healed myself. So There's respect for the natural order because once you experience herbal medicine and the vaginal steaming, you'll gain respect for what the earth is helping you achieve, okay? The medical impact. For the Womb Sauna method of vaginal steaming, we have over a 90% success rate of alleviating symptoms long term. So like those of you who said you have a cycle that bleeds past 3 days, you'll notice that after a couple treatments of the vaginal steam, your cycle will be no more than 3 days long. You don't need to bleed more than what can fit in the palm of your hand. You just only 1 to 2 inches. Somebody show me what 1 to 2 inches is. So how do you get 7 days worth of blood? It's toxicity. That's why you see those clots and all these different things.
But even if it's like 3 days, how come blood is so heavy?
Because your womb is toxic. Toxic. That's one piece of it. The other piece of it, because I'm holistic in my approach, so it's not always black and white. There was a season in my life, even after I healed myself, where my cycles began to bleed 7, 8, 9 days. And I said, wait a minute, not for me. What is this about? Womb, talk to me. What's going on? And I kept feeling this compulsion to give my blood to the earth. And I said, I don't know anything about giving blood to the earth, and why do I feel this compulsion to do this? I started to have severe cramping in my womb. So she was talking, I just couldn't understand the entire message. So me, submitting to my fear, went to the emergency. Said, man, we can't find anything wrong. I had to go back home. Remind myself of myself here. So I started Googling some things, trying to see, pulling out all my reference books on bookworm. Long story short, I stumbled across a letter from Louise Hay that she had published on the internet, asking women all throughout the world to give their menstrual blood to the earth to help heal the land, to help repel violence in the land, calling on the women to do these ancient rituals that we've gotten so far removed from. I said, well, I'm going to do this thing. I went out that night, dug a hole in the ground by my tree, hello, and put my blood in the earth, and all the bleeding and cramping stopped the next day. So that's why I said it's not always that black and white. And as we, journey together, I'll help you really understand the messages that your womb is trying to give us. Okay. Yeah. You said something. I'll get to that in a second because I have something special for everybody here today.
I just want to share this. The ground is like solid, it's like next to porcelain, and the ground is positive. So if you stand on like dirt for like 1 hour, your body will totally heal. Isn't that awesome?
How many of you believe we come from the earth?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So this is putting things in perspective, right? So if we get back to earth-based things to heal ourselves, your body knows how to heal. Have you ever thought about why you can eat a whole bag of potato chips but you can't eat a whole bag of carrots? Your brain knows what's real food and what's not. And it's the same thing with medicine. You put herbs in the body, you start giving the right nutrition and minerals and things, your body knows what to do. That doesn't know what to do with these pharmaceutical drugs, so that's why you pop a pill for one thing and something else starts going bad. Right? And people don't read the side effects, and I want y'all to hear this. People don't read the side effects because we're used to giving our power away. So every time you go into that doctor's office and you let that doctor's truth override your own, you give your power away. That doctor looks at you and says, you have cancer, you believe that, you start living a cancer life, you start taking that thing on. I've seen people say, I am diabetic. I'm like, dang, you owning that thing. I say, well, I am healed. Don't be what you want to do. So I want you to hear that. Don't give your power away. I love you too. That's one of my sisters and clients. That's my phone. So I want to tell you, that's the medical impact. I've been measuring, because this is such a new industry, I've been measuring how my clients are recovering with what they came in for. and we have over a 90% success rate for alleviating long-term symptoms. In one hour session, there's over 25 health benefits. Because what I do is I combine herbal medicine, aromatherapy, and gemstone medicine. How many of you are familiar with gemstone medicine? Kind of. How many of you wear gemstones or have ever picked one up? So the gemstones, the stones of the earth, have great mineral healing properties, but they also are a form of energetic medicine. Because remember, we're mind, body, and spirit. That's why sometimes you can touch something, you get shocked. How many of you have ever experienced that, right? You have energy, you have electricity in your body. So when you're sitting on the chair, women are holding these gemstones over their womb and over their heart and over different areas where the chakras are, the energetic centers of the body, and getting that healing benefit while they're sweating and receiving the herbs and the essential oils. Okay. The other thing we do is we give you herbs that you can drink and make your own feminine products like douches with if you want to flush out the vagina. And we infuse the gemstone properties into the herbs. So you can drink rose quartz, you can flush the vagina. So douching in and of itself isn't a bad thing, it's what you douche with. Alright, and then the economic impact. It's accessible to all social classes, it's earth friendly, and it's resource friendly. And happy women fuel economies. We got everything. We run the world, as Beyonce said. I was joking with my husband. I said, yeah, I'm taking Beyonce. You are undercover Beyonce fan. I am because I feel some type of way when I'm undercover Beyonce. So anyway, that's actually my mother on the pod. So you can see someone in the actual womb sauna. That's her getting her sweat on, getting her detox on. So again, that's a snapshot of what we provide and move along for the sake of time. Y'all have my information and can be in contact with me. But this describes the different health benefits. Pulls toxins out of the body. It alleviates abdominal pain and pressure. How many of you notice that right before your cycle you feel like you're getting a bloat? Toxic gas and all that stuff swelling you up. It's a message from the body. So what do you do when you feel it? You do what? A colon cleanse. She goes and gets a colonic. I love colonics. What do? You had your hand up?
Oh, I had a question. When I feel blood, I drink water.
Drink water. Okay. Drink water. Okay. So y'all are doing some good things. So the thing is, when the body's giving you a message, when you get that pain in your back or you feel very fatigued, listen. Don't be afraid to lay hands on yourself and take a moment and breathe and say, okay, what's the message? And trust yourself. We always trust the doctor, and the doctor ain't even laid hands on you. Look at your bowels. You have access and the power that you're not tapping into. All right? It relieves menstrual cramps. It regenerates damaged tissues. So I get a lot of women sometimes that have had to have partial surgeries on the womb, maybe a fallopian tube collapse or something. The herbs that I use, some of those help regenerate damaged tissues after you've had major surgeries, those kinds of things. Or some mothers have had a C-section. Helps with hemorrhoids, unexpected benefit, right? Helps with feminine odor. It's like the big elephant in the room that women don't always want to talk about, but when feminine odor shows up in your body, a lot of times it's because of toxicity, a lot of times it's because of stress, and a lot of times it's because the pH of your vagina is out of balance. How many of you, if we can be transparent, can we have girl talk for a minute? How many of you have been intimate with someone and then the next day or a few days later your scent changes? And you were like, what did he do to me? I mean, it was fun, but really what's going on right here? Right? Let me put this in perspective for you. When you choose to be intimate with someone, we as women are the absorbers. That's why they come into us. We are the absorbers. You absorb everything. So the first thing that happens in your body is an immune system response when you receive the essence of your partner. Your body starts saying, what is in this? Oh, he's eating cheese? God, I don't like cheese. He ate that pork chop last night? Really? I don't know how to process this workshop because you're not even in workshops, but he's in workshops. What is in this? And if you are consistent with the partner for 6 months and you receive his essence for 6 months, your DNA structure actually changes. It'll never go back to what it was. Makes you want to be a little bit more choosy. Makes you want to be a little bit more choosy. So we may think that it's a casual experience, but your body knows it is deeper. Okay? So it starts communicating with you. She starts thinking, I don't like him. I don't want to receive him. And it doesn't mean that she may not like him. It may mean that he's toxic. It may mean that his essence is toxic. He needs to detox and clean up. You know, if you value somebody like that. So it helps with that. It helps you to absorb other herbal remedies. So during the vaginal scene, if you want to drink teas and other things, it increases your absorption rate. It helps regulate your menses for those of you who may be having irregular cycles. It helps relieve heavy menstruation. It balances the hormone levels. It jumpstarts the detoxifying sensors that kill off fungi, bacteria, viruses, and parasites. I've actually had women release parasites through consistent care. It was a worm. How is surprised you holding your body? Y'all ain't know that? I mean, you can eat this American diet. Yeah. You got worms. Ugh. And she used to tell me that. I was in denial for the longest. I finally came out of that and accepted that and be on top of that. You know, and cleanse the body. Alright, it stimulates the growth of white blood cells and antibodies, which is great for the immune system. And every girl loves this. You get to sit down for an hour and get a cardio benefit. That's the sweater. And it helps with mood stabilization. Me time. You can't give to others what you don't have. And if you're pouring out of an empty cup, you gotta find ways to fill your cup. It strengthens the uterus. So women who tend to have a prolapsed uterus, it can help because of the squatted position. I use the kind of chair that has height adjustment. And so it can help you practice strengthening those pelvic floor muscles. It pulls mucus out of the womb and helps with ridding cysts, fibroids, and tumors. So at the end of the session, I actually allow women who are comfortable to look at what they've released from her. And they can actually see mucus. That the womb, because what the heat is doing is naturally causing your vagina to cave up without you even having to think about it. And so I'm constantly checking and your womb is just releasing. Okay. Relieves menopausal symptoms, facilitates emotional purging, aligns the chakras, builds self-esteem. I had one woman that came in, and when it was time for her dress, she was like, by the end of that session, when I unwrapped her, she took off running naked in my office. It's so free. It's so lighter, okay? It releases stagnant energy. It stimulates creativity. It supports your lymphatic health. It assists with fluid retention. You know, if you're retaining excess fluid, spreading it out helps. It strengthens communication. Got to tell you the story. It stimulates healthy sexual energy. Like Marvin Gaye says, because when I get that feeling, I need sexual healing. So it helps with that. I've had clients that haven't had orgasms in 10 plus years. And after they shed some things and get up off that pot, they're able to go twerk and all kinds of things. All right. And it also helps with the reduction and elimination of abnormal growth with consistent use. Any questions about these benefits? It does. That's part of the reason I became a doula, because so many of my clients were getting pregnant and they were having pain time now. No, it's not safe for pregnancy. There's an adaptation of it that I do for pregnant women, but I would not say pregnant women. So I've had a lot of women who have chronic bacteria, and it helps balance the pH of the vagina through the herbal blend. So there's actually 6 different herbal blends that you can have based on your client intake form. That lets me know which one you need. So women who have candida, chronic yeast, bacteria, those kinds of things, they usually respond immediately to the mucus detox.
Does it help with like movement as far as like area? I know it's not directly related to bones or anything like that, but I have
does. Before you actually get into the sauna, I take you through some yoga poses and stretches to loosen up and move your body to amplify your detoxification experience. So by the time you leave after that hour, you're feeling brand new, feel great. So you'll feel looseness there. And a lot of times we gotta work on the root chakra. See, when you have womb imbalances, that's the seat of your root and sacral chakras. You know, if you're stressed about money, you hold that worry in your hips, your lower abdomen, your pelvis, and your lower back. So it depends on what is the root cause of your imbalance. So most women who have an existing crisis, and that would mean like irregular cycles, long periods, fibroids, those kind of issues, they see me every 2 or 3 weeks. If you need more work done on your emotional body, you may be coming every 4 to 5 weeks. But on average, most women I'm so angry. I call it hormonal crack. It poisons your reproductive and endocrine system. The endocrine system consists of the glands in your body that make the hormones. And hormones are so important. They are chemicals in the body that control all of the communication for every organ. Like hormones are critical. So literally, for example, when I was on birth control for 12 years straight, my womb was literally asleep for 12 years. And then the doctor said, when you come off of it, you should return to normal in a couple of months, and you don't, and they always send you to specialists. But think about that. 12 years? So I was okay with my womb saying, I've been sleeping 12 years. You want to start working now? She didn't work for you. She said, I'm not used to working. I've been sleeping for 12 years. Birth control to me is dangerous. There's poisonous metals. And I actually have a class, and we'll talk about that. Online, I have what's called the Womb Sauna University. You can sign up for classes 24/7 and take it. We actually have a class on there about how to detoxify your body from birth control if you've been on it for a significant amount of time. Or if you've been, sometimes they'll give you progesterone or these other hormonal medications to try to induce the cycle, those kinds of things. It is very toxic. It was a combination of things. I was doing the pill, I did the ring, I didn't do the shot. I'm mostly because I'm scared of things on there. But I did the pill and I did the shots. And the passion. Yes, I think one of the best forms is really taking a look at why you're not ready to have kids, but you want to be intimate. I think you can start there. But there are, and that's one of the things I teach in the class as well, you know, some all natural. There's herbs you can use, but herbs are medicine too. So I want to put that in perspective. Whatever you put in your body is going to create a series of processes and effects. So you want to be mindful. If you really are in a place where you want to conceive, but you want to be intimate, become more responsible and track when you're ovulating. Know when you're fertile. You know, do the work. Do the work when you work it. But what I try to do is teach women to become more in tune with their body. My mother was the type where she knew when she was pregnant. She said, I felt the sperm on her head. She said, your father thought I was crazy. But she was so in tune with her body, and she was getting negative pregnancy tests, and she was like, I know I'm pregnant. And she was. That's why I'm here. You know, so you just got to tune in and step to the plate. If you know, okay, I'm going to be intimate, because I don't think there's anything wrong with intimacy when it's responsible. But track that. Use the method of tracking. Know when your cervical fluid is changing, when you're ovulating, when you're most fertile, and then just avoid it more times. Now, I'm going to tell you how intelligent your body is, though. You ever watch Animal Planet when it's mating season? Don't you seem like you want to turn up when you ovulate? Because it's a process that the body has to create something. So you have to be responsible.
I was reading something that said that some women ovulate more than once during the month. What I don't really know anything else about it, but that's what I read.
Yeah, last time we was here, we got deep into that conversation about the difference between the menstrual cycle and the menstrual period. Most women don't know there's actually a difference. So the period is just simply your bleeding pattern. But there are women who bleed in a consistent pattern who don't ovulate. That's why fertility treatments are such a booming industry. And then there are women who don't bleed at all who ovulate. So the misconception has been that you can use the bleeding pattern to measure your cycles of fertility. What you really should be measuring is your cervical fluid. So one of the things that I sell is a cervical self-exam kit that you can use privacy to look at your cervix, you to identify the changes she's going through, and I teach you how to look at your cervical fluid and know when you're most fertile. That way, you know when you should lay. Fertility, y'all know over 75 million men and women in this country have been diagnosed with infertility. Did you know that? The last report they did last year, over 75 million men and women in this country have been diagnosed with infertility. Here's my truth. You may agree, you may not. But I believe that we are in a time where Spirit is requiring us to raise our vibrations before bringing these babies. And so the same way she's turning hers off, your womb can turn herself off and say, it is not time to create a baby. You are too stressed. I don't like him. You know, we are not making a baby right now. I don't care what you do. I don't believe in the paradigm of normal. I believe that that is her consistent pattern right now based on her lifestyle. So your bleeding patterns, they tell you your cycle is irregular when you don't bleed every 28 days. Who decided that every single woman in the world is supposed to bleed every 28 days? Then they got flexible with it a few years later and said, well, maybe up to every 34 days. Right? Where did this come from? Every woman is different. In ancient cultures, there used to be women who were revered for retaining their blood. They were deified and revered as holy and sacred because they were retaining their blood. You know, so your body is so intelligent that it knows when it's an appropriate time to create the processes within itself that can lead to conception. And if you're too stressed, your body says this is not a good time. And so you don't have to address the lack of bleeding, you need to address what is triggering that response in your body. Does that make sense? So is it normal for her? It seems like that may be her pattern right now. When she's ready to shift it, she will. Alright, let's move along. I do a certification. I teach other women how to provide this work for other women. It's so powerful. It's a training program that I have online because we literally have people being trained all throughout the world. It's self-paced. There's 10 modules that teach you how to do this on yourself and on other people. And for as little as 150, you can join the movements to let the women be heard and take vaginal staining all throughout the world. The other thing we do is an annual tour. Tour launched this month. And we take the Womb Sauna to other women. So we're doing over 10 locations. After DC, we're heading to Texas. After Texas, we're heading to New York. Then we're heading to Philly. Then we're heading to Chicago, Canada, the Caribbean. We take this all over. Okay? And women are able to experience an educational seminar like you're experiencing right now to understand the impact of this form of medicine. And then they're also able to set up an appointment and experience the professionals. The total cost for the certification is $300, but there are payment plan options available for you. I'm very flexible, so if it's something you're interested in studying, and getting trained and certified in, you can do that as well. Any questions about the certification? Stay connected, it's on my info. So let's talk. I want to really put things in perspective. After hearing this information, what comes up for you now about your womb and your journey and how you're handling your body? Well, I think the change begins with us, and I think it is changing. A When you look at insurance companies, they're now starting to cover alternative medicine modalities. That wasn't always the case. So there is an integrating of the two styles of medicine. At the end of the day, you get to define the truth. Do I still go to the doctor? If I want their technology, I go. But once they start trying to prescribe pharmaceutical drugs, then I'm out. You know, so you work it for yourself. It all begins and ends with you. You are sovereign over your body. You get to make decisions about what you want to do with your body. You know, so there's a combination that you feel you want to create for yourself, create it. And you don't even have to feel bad about it. It's great what you need for yourself. And especially when it comes to the cycles, I'll just add this, it's a bigger picture and there's other things participating in the rhythms of the woman's womb. I teach the womb of the mind, the womb of the body, the womb of the spirit, and I also teach the principle of the cosmic. You know, the same way, for example, I am a Gemini, and I have Leo in my rising, and I have Cancer in my moon. And my womb is a Cancer. I have my womb chart. You know? And so y'all was like, well, this is good. So there's a friend of mine, she's a powerful astrologer, and she taught us that. Again, if you go on the website in our education tab, and you look at the Womb Sauna University, a lot of these classes you can take at your free time. So that class is called Your Womb and the Stars. And she'll tell you how to chart your own womb. It's charted based on when you entered into puberty, when you woke up and decided that procreation is possible. And based on that, you can chart the sign of your womb. That gives you greater insight because Cancer is all about I feel. So I know since my womb is a Cancer, if my emotions get out of whack, she takes a blow. You know? So those are things that, you know, these are two, it's a bigger perspective, the moon cycles. Like who named their womb the moon? Yes, the moon cycles can play. I noticed that my phone started ringing, this happened 2 years ago. When we were having those historical eclipses and things that we had had like 400 years, my phone was ringing and my email inbox was going out with women all throughout the world saying, I'm having pregnancy symptoms, but I'm not showing it that I'm pregnant. All over the world. And I'm like, what is going on? And I needed to, let me look at what's going on in the cosmos. And it was all during these major eclipses that happened. So as women, we are connected to these things. We are powerful. Everything comes from you. Tell me somebody that doesn't come from you. You know, we're so potent with our creative energy that we've been given from the Creator. But we create another human being. That's potent energy. And you gotta ask yourself, why am I living broke and stressed? If I can go up here and create another human being, what else can I do? So your womb healing journey isn't just about your reproduction, you know, and having babies. It's about really getting in tune with your feminine power so you can transform your life. It's dangerous. I can relate to your story because when I was on birth control, I would have bouts where I would be bleeding 2 or 3 months. It was so bad, I stopped going home. I just walked in the it was too much. It was so heavy. I would fill up a pad in every outlet. That was a message from my body.
And I learned that the doctor, since I hit my body, there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing wrong.
But it's probably my body is telling something.
Your body, we would have to get you on the pod. I would have to ask you what happened to the tape. Okay, and we would have to peel back the layers. See, we look at the physical symptoms and get stuck on treating the symptoms. But I'm only interested in the root. I get to the root and we pull it up there because if we can pull it up there, then the pattern that's shown will know. You should question it because it's a message from your body. And sometimes, here's the thing I really want y'all to walk away with. Because of course I can support you in the process of getting more information and figure out what the message is. But you have that same power for yourself. You know, you can be still and take the fear out of it. And say, okay, my body's doing something I don't understand. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to be infertile. It's just a message. Just an alarm that something's out of balance. So let me start looking at my lifestyle. Let me start looking at my nutrition. Let me start looking at how I process things. And then you can start, pinpointing, then you can start experimenting with things. Okay, I'm going to eat cheese for 2 days, and then I'm going to lay off of it for 2 days and see how my body maybe I'll try juicing, maybe I'll try some other things, maybe I'll stop eating meat for a while and see how it affects my body. That's what self-healers do. Instead of running to the doctor and letting them tell you what to do, you take your power back and you start doing it for yourself.
I was gonna say chicken and turkey. At the time when I was healthy, but I was pregnant for like 6 months, and I didn't stop eating that chicken. I didn't stop eating that turkey, and it wasn't organic. And
You know where they shoot in those hormones? The chicken.
what we eat.
Those chicken wings, that's where they inject those hormones.
Isn't there a person that they're producing a lot of chicken?
Yes. You gotta know where you get your food from. You know, I remember my grandmother, boy, she would not put her fork in her mouth without crying on her food. You know, it's something to be said about our food culture in America. We are poisoning ourselves. The food industry and the healthcare industry benefit from each other. Whether it's intentional or not, I won't get into that conversation. That's another session. But we gotta take a look at what we're putting in our mouths and why. Detox. So when you've had these medicines for whatever reason, when we know to do better, we do better, right? So when you know that you've been on certain hormones, especially birth controls, you know you've been eating for the majority of your life, you need to detox and give the body rest so you can do that yourself. There is no disease that you cannot heal yourself from. That's not true. The body is magnificent. It will regrow cells, regrow hair, it'll regrow organs. It's so intelligent. It is designed by the Most High. We can rejuvenate and heal ourselves in the right conditions. So then we just have to take time to figure out what those conditions are. And again, that depends on your entry point to the healing process. For everybody, usually the session, I'm headquartered in Suitland, Maryland, so I'm not far from here. And if you come to my home office, that session is usually 85. And you can book it on the appointment tab on my website, because it pulls up my calendar and you can see the times that are available. And you can book your session. It will change your life. Every woman has to set an intention for her session. You will manifest something. You will manifest something when you get up off that cloud. So think and dream big before you come see me. What is it you want? I had one woman that said, for real, I can go big, I can dream big. I said, dream big. She said, I look so right. So I was into it. A week later, she called me back. She said, hey, this is crazy. I got to go. That's the energy we want. Anything can be done. Every woman doesn't have a traumatic story. So it depends on whatever intention. You may come in and say, yo, I just want to be proactive in preventing any womb issues in my life. I just want to break these off. I need to relax. I can work on this. Whatever it may be, whatever intention you come with, it serves that. No, so there's two options. You can come to my office in Super Maryland, or if you're more comfortable with me bringing it to where you live, I can do that. I also work out of a holistic wellness center in College Park, and that's once a week as well, so you can get your treatment there. No, only there on Sundays. And except for the third Sunday. Every third Sunday we do a womb meditation class. So a womb meditation class every third Sunday of the month at 4 to 7. This past month we did your womb and your sister. And we broke up all the myths and illusions and propaganda about what sisterhood really is. Everybody got a chance to tell their painful experience and their experience with another woman, what they really said. And then we did a mirror exercise where women paired up, and one held a hand there to the other one, and they can look at themselves and affirm positive statements. And then they switched off. So those are the types of things we do in the class. The next one coming up is on your womb and your fertility. And not just your fertility in the sense of childbearing, but creativity. So if you're a procrastinator, is that we could break up that. It's the third Sunday of each month, so I don't know if it's the third Sunday. enough women who want it in that area, I take it. So usually it's like 6 women want me to come do the Womb Sauna treatments for them. I'll go and do that. You can't always heal something just through food. I mean, that's the big push right now, but I have women that's been vegan for 15 plus years with fibroids. You know, because their entry point to their healing process is emotional. So it take a look too, not just at what you may have been eating at that time, but was there things that you need to process, you know,